Hey guys, it's the Lawrence Presman, co-founder of Wager Talk, and this is the NFL Presidential Address. Today's show, like always, the great Ralph Michaels, the most knowledgeable sports handicapper in the entire world. Also the most quoted. You can find him on everything, ESPN's radio shows, Sports Grid, all of the Wager Talk shows on our channel. He guest appears on Bet On It, the largest, most watched handicapping show on YouTube. And I am just honored and privileged to have him take time out of his day to join me to do this show. Hey, Ralph, how are you, buddy? What's up?
Are you done blowing smoke up my ass yet, Prez?
Are we penning it?
Yeah. Always. You know what? Here's the deal. You've talked about my pen numerous times. I've learned from a long time, I always take notes. If I hear something, boom, I write down a note. If I see something, I write down a note. And I just gotten back in a habit in the old Phil Steele Day, North Coast days, that I had a pen in my hand, and it was just easier to always have the pen in your hand than look for it when you needed to write down a note.
So funny. I'm like adjusting my sleeve on my left arm, but because of the way the screen works, I think it's my right arm. It's so confusing. Anyway, dude, so much to talk about. Let's get into your college basketball first, right off the bat. I just want to congratulate you on an incredible promotion. You offered $400 off to everybody who bought your early bird college basketball season package, and you made a ton of sales. I'm so proud of you. You deserve it, Ralph. I mean, you know, I can't think of any sport, any handicapper that does better than you do in college basketball. It's literally must play, and I play all your bets. I mean, last year I think you had over 300 bets that I played. So I'm thrilled for your success. And we do have another promo for everybody, CBB 300. Ralph will explain it. But way to go, dude. College basketball, literally 5 days away.
It is, Prez, and I've averaged 325 plays each of the last 2 years. And it's not as if, though, I'm giving you 20 plays on Saturday. The difference is, you know, when you look at the Wager Talk college basketball guide that'll be out either tomorrow or Friday at the latest, you're going to see how much work I put into it now. So when there's 145 games tipping off next Tuesday, I'm ready to go, and I may have 3, 4, or 5 plays. Most handicappers wait until December or wait until January when football's completely over to handicap. So, again, if you like volume, I have a lot of plays, but it's not as if, though, I'm inundating you with 20 plays on a Saturday. That's not the case at all. We're cherry picking the premier value early in the season when Vegas struggles putting out lines on all these games.
Yeah, and you know, Ralph, I'll tell you, it's interesting you mentioned early in the season. You know, I've been betting college basketball for over 30 years, and I find for me that every sport has sort of its moments. And I don't know about how you feel, but from the day college basketball starts till somewhere around Christmas Day, that's a 6-week window, which usually is the single best time to bet college basketball. It might be the best time to bet any sport, period, given that, you know, baseball sort of stands alone. But college basketball, when it begins, we find that a lot of the general public, and I've spoken to bookmakers about this, they don't really pay that much attention to betting college hoops. You know, the NFL is in full swing. NBA had just begun. We're going into the heart of the college football season, including all of the bowl games coming up. It's sort of the left to the side sport. We find, specifically when we're selling college basketball picks, that our real increase in uptake in college basketball is after New Year's. So, you know, I don't know if you found this, but that 6-week window really provides everybody with the best opportunity to make a shit ton of money fast.
Can't argue at all. I mean, November is the value. Why is there value? Because there's 353 Division One teams. Vegas isn't studying all those in depth, knowing how many returning starters, what percentage of minutes are back, what the new pace is going to be. The 52 new head coaches. Absolutely. Plus, it's day in and day out. NFL, college football, what do you have? You have an entire week to study, learn about injuries, and make your adjustments. NBA, you have multiple days between games. NHL, the same thing. In college basketball, you have many of these tournaments where you have teams playing back-to-back-to-back nights. And by studying them, watching them, reading up, you can't watch every game, but you certainly can read what happened in those games, what the injuries were, how many minutes they played. Taking a team that has an easy first game in a back-to-back-to-back tournament, and starters are only playing 26 minutes instead of 36 minutes, it's a big difference moving into day two of that tournament when they're playing it with 23 hours of rest. So a lot of different ways to handicap college basketball, but I absolutely believe you want to be on board right at the beginning. And again, that's why my volume of plays are so high, because I will be there next week on Tuesday firing away with multiple plays. I guarantee you that.
Guys, get $300 off of anyone's college basketball season, including Ralph Michaels. Head over to either Sports Memo or Wager Talk. Use the promo code CBB300. And Ralph, I was over 60% last year in college hoops myself. I played all of my college hoops and all of your college hoops, so I had an outstanding season. Let's get into some NFL football, Ralph. I want you to talk about trends for week 9, and then I want to give out some just general thoughts, and then we'll take apart each game.
You got it. Well, let's look at the worst and let's look at the best. From week 7 on, teams that are winless, like the Miami Dolphins, and they're at home. So week 7 on means you're at least 0-6 if you had a bye, or you're 0-7 if you haven't had a bye. Those teams 4-13 against the spread. If you're a crappy team by week 7, you're still a crappy team. On the flip side, how about those teams that are 100%, meaning their win percentage is 100%, and we're playing week 6 or later? That means you're at least 5-0, or 6-0, or 7-0. Those teams that have yet to lose, and if they are a single-digit away favorite, they've gone 3-16 against the spread. That's New England, Prez.
Oh, we'll be talking a lot about New England, brother.
Week. So those teams, again, I'm not saying bet those teams. What we're doing with this is giving you the scenarios that when teams have a perfect record and they're a single-digit away favorite, they've done very poorly going 3-16. And 2 more. When a team wins a game before a bye, and then they're an away favorite of 3 or more. So you have confidence. You got to win. You are now rested and relaxed and healthy off a bye. Now you're the better team. You're an away favorite of 3 points or more. How about a record of 40-13 against the spread? 76%. That is the Dallas Cowboys on Monday night. And lastly, a game, I think we're on the same side of this as well. 4-3 teams at home off a loss. So your team was 4-2. You were confident. You now lost the game, you're 4-3. Thoughts start going in your head. If we lose this, we're 4-4. We could be in trouble. Add into the mix that 4-3 team off a loss is Carolina, and you add in Kyle Allen with a 1-3 ratio, his first bad game since he's been a starter. Since 2010, those 4-3 NFL teams at home off a loss have gone 2-16 against the spread. They've won 11% of the time. So fading those teams, you've cashed 89% of the time.
Guys, Ralph is full of this type of knowledge. If you follow him on Twitter, Ralph, give out your Twitter handle.
At Cal Sports LV.
You're going to get this type of information every day. But understand this, Ralph is not saying, here's a trend, use it to bet. This is just part of the process. Take the information, use it how you will. But Ralph is not basing his NFL picks or any picks in any sports solely on these trends. Some of these trends have logic to it, some don't. You guys need to really think these trends through. Why is it that that system is in play? Why is it that that trend is happening? And all Ralph's going to do is provide you with the information. You guys are all big men. You're all grown-ups, except for the idiots who bitch everybody out on social media. They are certainly not grown-ups. So use that info the way you want. Ralph, I want to give out a bet before we get into this, and then I want to talk in general about the NFL season this year. Here's a bet I made today, Ralph. And look, I'm not suggesting that this bet is some, second coming. It's 6-1, plus 600. Obviously, a plus 600 bet is not supposed to win. But I think there's a lot of really good value here. And I actually think that there'll be opportunities to come back next week and hedge that bet. So what am I talking about, Ralph? Baltimore is playing New England this week. A lot of people are expecting Baltimore to lose. They're at home, they're a dog, it's New England, blah, blah, blah. We'll take that game apart later. Let's just assume Baltimore loses. Cleveland is playing Denver. Cleveland has played the hardest schedule out of any team in the league right now. But the next however many 8 games that Cleveland plays, they have the second easiest schedule in all of football. They've got Cincinnati twice. They got Pittsburgh twice. They're hosting Buffalo. They've got Miami still to go. And then, of course, a game that could decide the division, Baltimore. I think this is a perfect time to bet Cleveland to win the division. Now, I understand. Look, I get it. Cleveland is at the bottom of, Cincinnati, but Cleveland is 2-5. They are 3 games behind Baltimore. If they win and Baltimore loses, they're 2 games behind Baltimore. They're hosting Baltimore for the second last game of the season. Assume they win that game, they're 1 game behind Baltimore, and they have a schedule a hell of a lot easier than Baltimore. If you don't make this bet this week, you will not get 6-1 next week, assuming that Baltimore loses and Cleveland wins. I laid some money on that bet today, Ralph, plus 600 for Cleveland to win the division. Any thoughts?
Yeah, Cincinnati's schedule has been about as tough as Cleveland's, but the point taking, Cleveland's opponents, the 7 opponents have won 36 games. New England has played by far the weakest schedule. Their opponents have won 15 games. Second in that list, San Francisco, a team we really don't know how good they are. They've won 17 games. Baltimore has played the 3rd weakest schedule. Their strength of opponents have won 19 games. Their opponents have only have a win percentage of 36.8. So again, you're looking at, are you getting value? Absolutely. The Browns were the favorite to win this division preseason, and there was a lot of money on them. So you're now getting a situation where the schedule's going to change. Baltimore's played the 3rd weakest. Cleveland's played the toughest or the 2nd toughest.
And now they swap.
And as you said, right, and now they're going to swap spots. So, Baltimore's the team that has been there with catching some people by surprise with the Lamar Jackson offense early. And Baltimore also has inflated numbers. I think they believe they played Miami and Arizona their first 2 weeks. So no question. We'll talk about the Browns' brutal schedule they've played, and part of the reason I like them this week into Denver.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Guys, I'm on a 19-7 all sports run. I'm on a 9-2 football run. I won my 5-unit NHL play on Wednesday night, going away. I have a 5% play in NFL this week. I have a couple of promos for you guys throughout the show. The first one is a week of my bets, every sport, NBA, college, basketball, college football, NHL, NFL, the whole lot. If maybe there's another baseball game, that would be really good. Obviously there won't be, I'm kidding. $79. Head over to wagertalk.com and use the promo code PREZ79. $79 for a week of all my plays. Ralph, before we get into the card, in keeping with the fact that this is the NFL show, I was talking to Dave Koken today about this, and same with Rob Vino on the Betting Edge. And have you ever seen the NFL in 1 year have 4 teams as bad as Cincinnati, the Jets, Washington, and Miami? We've seen bad teams. We've seen Detroit go undefeated, winless over a season, although I think this Miami team and the Cincinnati team and maybe this Washington team is worse than that Detroit team. But I don't recall ever seeing 4 teams that are so inept.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I'm just looking right now. Last year, I might as well give you the real facts because I have my database open. Last year, Arizona was minus 117 yards per game. That was the worst since, I believe, the 2009 Cleveland Browns. So from 2010 to 2017, we had an 8-year period where no NFL team was even minus 100 yards per game at the end of the season. Last year, we had 3. We had Miami, Cincinnati, and Arizona. So this really is a carryover from what happened at the end of last year. But you look at this year so far, and yes, it's early, and yes, you say you could play schedules. But right now, Washington, Cincinnati, the Jets, and Miami are all minus 117 yards or more. Miami is minus 159. So no team in 20 years has been worse than minus 120 yards per game. We have 3 of them, and Washington's going to be there pretty soon.
Yeah, let's hold that thought as we get into the primetime games. Conversely, Ralph, we're very top heavy right now. New Orleans, Green Bay, New England, San Francisco. These are really, really good football teams. Parity is gone in the NFL right now, but I'm sure it will come back. Primetime preview, my brother. San Fran going into Arizona, minus 10 for San Francisco. The total is 43. Dude, my gut feel tells me that this is a soft spot for San Fran. I don't want to take the points here. I actually am still in the survivor pool, and I was thinking to myself, is it San Fran to take in the survivor pool? I just have a bad feeling. I have no reason to have a bad feeling. I have no trends or statistics to back up my bad feeling. I just don't think this is a good spot for San Fran. I'm going to lay off this game completely. What do you think?
Well, we did talk about the record for teams that have a perfect win percentage. As an away favorite, they've done poorly. But, I don't think this is the spot. I do like San Fran here, despite that angle I gave out. You're looking at Arizona, who had 10 first downs and 237 yards last week. Johnson's probably out. Edmonds is probably out. You're playing a running back you just traded from Miami. You have a rookie quarterback. Let me remind people that the double-digit away favorite over-under angle applies. Since 2012, I've tweeted this out numerous times, but for those that haven't followed me, when you have a double-digit away favorite in the NFL, they are 4-28 over-under since 2012. That's a remarkable record. Does it make sense? Absolutely. The road team knows they're the better team. You're playing on the road. You're just trying to get out with a win. The home team's trying to slow down the pace. They know they're the inferior team. But, Prez, it comes down to this for me. And, it's a 28% ATS record, but it makes all the sense in the world to me. Since 2013, first-year NFL coaches with 4 days of rest have gone 7-18 against the spread, 28%. It's very difficult to get your team ready for a 7-day period. It is extremely difficult the first time you're playing a Thursday night game to change your routines and have your team ready in that shortened period of time. So to me, I lean the under because I think that makes extreme sense, and I do lean San Fran.
I like the under thought, Ralph. I mean, 43, I think Arizona's going to struggle to score. And, although we saw San Fran put up 51 last week, that's an aberration. This is a running team, and Arizona's defense is not terrible. New England going into Baltimore, Ralph, and, I mentioned up top of the show how bad Miami, Washington, the New York Jets, and Cincinnati are. Cleveland has literally played those teams 6 times. The 7th team they played are the New York Giants. That really, I just shove all of those away. Like, people are talking about, best rush defense ever. They're keeping opponents down to half a point a game. I don't care. I honestly, Rob Vino was going on and on about it on one of my shows this week, and I'm like, just shut up, Rob. I don't care. I don't care about any statistic related to a team who plays against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the Ottawa Renegades, the Toronto Argonauts, the Alabama Crimson Tide, UCF. I don't care. New England has played one game this season, one NFL game this season. It was against Buffalo. They were outgained. They won the game by 6 points. 7 of those points were off of a block punt. Their offense couldn't score. Brady is struggling to stretch the field. Their offense does not look great, but with all that said, dude, they're still the New England Patriots. 20 years of numbers, 20 years of covering the spread over 60% of the time. They make adjustments like nobody's business. Lamar Jackson's legs are going to be taken out of this game. I cannot bet New England in this spot. I need to see them play a real team. I won't bet against New England either. I swore to Kelly 2 years ago I will never bet against a Brady Belichick New England, so I won't. But I do have a parlay in play from yesterday with Baltimore on that ticket. $32 to pay $800. I don't ever do parlays, but I'm on a 19-7 run. I felt good. I was with my girlfriend. She wanted to do one. I was like, okay, $30. Let's go. So I am in play on that game, and I do have Baltimore, but man, I don't know how anybody can run to the window with either of these teams. I like under the total of 45.5. I think that's a great bet, Ralph. Go ahead.
I agree with that, and I'm not going to give you any reason to bet either side. New England is still New England, and when you have New England just laying a field goal, I'm not going to play against them. I'm just not. I agree that the offense is struggling. They have O-line problems. They don't have the receivers to stretch the field. Against the Cleveland team, they scored 27 points because Cleveland turned the ball over 3 times on 3 plays, and that got them their scores. They only had 318 yards. They only had 323 yards the week before against the Jets. But again, they had a big lead and they did nothing in the second half. With that said, to agree with you to a point about Baltimore, New England has allowed 4.6 yards per carry. It's just that people don't get enough opportunity to run the ball because their offense has controlled the clock. Will Baltimore be able to run the ball? Hell yeah. When you have Lamar Jackson being able to stretch the field and get first downs by running, Ingram's been serviceable with what he does, and the play action works with Lamar Jackson, so they're able to pass the ball. You've talked about New England not playing anyone. Well, I'm going to say Baltimore also played Miami, Arizona, and Cincinnati. So those 3 games you have to throw out. They lost.
Well, Arizona is a hell of a lot better than 6 of the 8 teams New England played.
Yeah, Arizona week 2 though. That was Kyler Murray's first road game. So, I'm not going to give them that much credit. So, but, they did go to Seattle and they had to do what they did. I like the under. I agree with that. I think both teams are going to run the ball. I think both teams want to run the ball. I think the clock's going to be running and people are going to be happy with that. New England's where they are because they're plus 17 turnovers and period. I mean, that's going to come back.
But again, Ralph, I'm sorry to interrupt, brother. I mean, Rob Vino made the same remark. Plus 17 turnovers, yeah? Miami tries to turn the ball over. They literally go out there like, if we can turn it over with a shovel pass, that's one. An overhead pass, two. Let's try lateral turnover, three. Let's get our defense to turn the ball over from the offense and then we turn it over after they run backwards. So again, shove it out the door. I don't even want to listen to people discuss any game that New England has played against those four opponents.
They do it every year.
Okay, then talk about that.
They always play the weakest schedule because they have Miami, the Jets.
Yeah, this has been an especially weak run.
Yeah, well, again, it's your early season schedule, but coming up, like we talked about, you're making the adjustments now. They have Baltimore, Philly, Dallas, Houston, KC, their next 5 games. So you could say those are 5 of their toughest 6 games they're going to have this season, and they're going to have a stretch with it. So it is a wait and see time. I do like the under. I have one angle which leans with New England, but again, most angles lean with New England because of what they've done. They're 21-3 against the spread against non-division foes if they're off a win and they're playing a team with a worse record. So they're the better team. Yes. Are they the better team? Yeah, I would say they're the better team than Baltimore. So again, just a number. I agree with you. I'm not playing New England because of their spot. I'm not playing Baltimore because I'm not playing against New England, but I do like the under.
Well, New York Giants are hosting Dallas. They're plus 7 at home, 48 on the board. And listen, I've got a 5-unit play up on this exact game. I'm not going to talk about it at all. I'm just going to admire the veins in my biceps and my 19-7 all sports run. I hand this game to you.
I look at Dallas and I think they are by far the better team. But, we're going to say the same thing all year. Your wins are Miami, Washington, the Giants, and then you had the Jets and you lost to the Jets. But I think having them with a win against Philadelphia, with the bye, in a dominating situation, they've dominated this division. They've gone 13-2 against the spread against the NFC East. And, I don't know where you are in this game. I know that you like the Giants. I know you like the Giants quarterback moving forward, but I just don't see the Giants being able to stop Dallas. And I think Dallas is going to be able to move the ball. So, I probably would lean with Dallas because the Giants have allowed 27 points or more in 7 of their 8 games. But with that being said, my strongest lean would be to the over.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Guys, make sure to buy Ralph Michaels' college basketball season. Ralph, that $300 off, promo code CBB300. How long is that available for?
That is good until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, Monday, the night before the college basketball season tips off.
NFL early games, Ralph. And, me and you have spoken about this game. And I liked Houston. And then I listened to you and I'm like, I don't like Houston anymore. I'm off this game now, Ralph. You literally talked me off of Houston. Why don't you tell our listeners why?
I think it's a comfortable feeling to be familiar with going to London. Jacksonville's been there 7 straight years. They've gone 3-1 the last 4 years. Houston hasn't been there. We know that Deshaun Watson, when he has a clean pocket, He put up 592 against Atlanta. He put up 472 against Kansas City. Didn't have sacks. Against Oakland, who only had 10 sacks on the year, he got sacked 3 times last week. Jacksonville's off a game where they had 8 sacks on defense. Earlier this year, they had 9 sacks against Tennessee. You then look at Houston, who loses their number 1 defensive player in J.J. Watt, and you could say Merciless has more sacks. The only reason Merciless has more sacks is because Watt gets double teamed. Now Merciless gets double teamed. That totally negates their pass rush. Then you add in, they lose Larry Tunsil, their best offensive lineman, which is going to give the Jacksonville defense more of an issue. Fournette's going to be able to run. Minshew gets things done. The familiarity with London. This game does kick off early, 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. And I do like Jacksonville.
Ralph, talking about London, England is facing South Africa in the World Cup of Rugby. England is -5, over and under is 38. Does your database have anything for us on that game?
No, and if you go off topic with rugby again, I'm going to talk about the baseball score that you're trying to record and not hear what the score is.
So just what? Just 1 second. Just 1 second.
The onus is out.
Okay, but wait. I want to give out a bet. I actually know rugby, and I follow rugby, and I love rugby. And on Friday, the semifinals is New Zealand and Wales, and I just want to say, this New Zealand All Blacks team is so sick, and they are probably so freaking pissed off that they lost. They are -19, and I guarantee you they cover that line against Wales. So that's an actual official bet that I am laying my money on New Zealand to beat Wales by more than 19 points.
Okay, I have to lay 19.5 -150.
Do it. This New Zealand team is ridiculous. I cannot believe that they didn't sweep the tournament.
All right, I'm in. I laid, they're -1,200 on the money line. Wales is +658, but I laid the 19.5. It was a 30-cent line, so I had to lay 15. The Wales is +19.5.
Yeah, it's going to be a floor.
Now -114. So I moved the line. Thank you with that bet. I moved the line 1 cent. Now it's -116, because how many people are betting the World Cup?
Yeah, a shit ton, Ralph. A shit ton. I also like England -5. Washington going into Buffalo, and this is another pass for me, Ralph. I mean, I can't play Washington. This team's anemic. But I can't play Buffalo because their offense is horrific. They can't be laying 9 points, 9.5. I don't want to touch under 37, but really, to me, that I think is the only bet available here. Go ahead.
Again, I agree with that. We're talking some ugly teams, and when you have these teams that are learning how to win, it takes time to learn how to win and to learn how to cover. They didn't do it against Miami. They got outgained against Miami by 76 yards. Buffalo is now 0-8 against the spread versus non-division, off a loss as a home favorite. I think a lot of people think good teams off a loss, that's an automatic rebound. It's not. This Buffalo team's learning how to win. You have Josh Allen at quarterback. He's not one that extends the lead. If Buffalo has any lead whatsoever, they completely take the air out of the balloon and run the ball and just try to slow the pace down. I would love to play off Buffalo, off their loss, if it were anyone else but Washington. I would, if it were Miami right now, I would be betting on Miami, because at least with Fitzpatrick, they're showing some life. But, Washington, you already have chaos, and now, Trent Williams was going to be back, and he couldn't find a helmet. In all the NFL, they couldn't find a helmet that fits. So now Trent Williams isn't playing this week and didn't pass his physical. And, there's just so much going on behind the scenes in Washington that, they're chaos, and I can't bet on them. With that said, if you made me pick a side, I would bet Washington. And I also agree with your under, because right now, the Bills have scored 10, 14, and 13 their last 3 games, not counting the Miami game, which they only had 305 yards and a very deceiving 31 points.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Tennessee going into Carolina. The line here is Carolina -3.5. The total is 41.5. I really like this game, Ralph. I like under the total of 41, and I like Tennessee. I think this is a great matchup for Tennessee. I think Ryan Tannehill has come in. He's given the offense a little bit more balance, but what does that balance do? It just creates lanes for Derrick Henry. Carolina, we saw how if you can hone in on Christian McCaffrey like San Francisco did, you have a real chance of stopping that offense in their tracks. I think Tennessee's defense is as good, maybe a hair worse, but equal to San Fran's defense, if you will. I think there's new life in Tennessee. I think that division is up for grabs. I think Tennessee can go in and win this game outright.
Agree. We've seen the line come down. The money has come in on Tennessee, and I completely agree with it. You have Carolina, who started off with 2 losses, and then they go on the road against Arizona and Houston. Well, they just finished off playing 4 road games in 5. They're coming home. They got Green Bay on deck. I talked about it when I talked about the system. Kyle Allen, so much was made of being 5-0 to start as a starter in the NFL. Well, he had his first bad game. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He was 19 of 37, throwing for 100 yards. And now you have a young quarterback second-guessing himself. We thought Cam Newton might be back, but now he's already been ruled out. With Tennessee, yeah, they didn't look good against Tampa Bay, and maybe they didn't deserve to win against the Chargers, but they are still sitting at 4-4. I prefer Tannehill over Mariota. Derrick Henry has been a stud. He's been a workhorse, and they've used him in the second half, so his yards per carry isn't as impressive as some other running backs. But, you have A.J. Brown and Corey Davis who can stretch the field. And as you said, the defense is legit, allowing 3.9 yards per carry. I'm not surprised if Tennessee pulls the upset.
Well, Friday is the start of the World Series of darts.
Yeah, I know there's a darts line on my site, and
I don't have a clue, Ralph. I mean, there's this guy, Jermaine Watamena. He's there's a -188. Dave Chisnell. He must be really good at throwing darts. Anyway.
Well, a friend here in Vegas, Elf, Elf.
Yeah, of course.
And Elf is a big believer in darts. He studies it.
Well,
He knows
get us
it well,
some info, man.
Well, I don't know him that well where he's given it to me. So
we need dart info.
Prez, it's like anything. It's like college basketball. It's like rugby. It doesn't matter what the sport is. It's like WNBA. We have guys that, you look
Hakeem?
at Hakeem. You look at Mr. Prophet. WNBA can be beat. So it doesn't matter to me what the sport is. If someone's able to analyze that sport, there's value because Vegas doesn't pay as much attention. They're not having the same limits, so you can keep chipping away at smaller amounts and get yourself a hell of a profit betting those.
Such a great point, and it's why our guys Buster and Andrew, they do so well in Canadian football. Ralph, Chicago's going into Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is -5. I'm getting to the ticket the window with this game, period. I have already made a bet on this game. I'm betting Philadelphia with my own money. The bottom line here, from my perspective, Ralph, is these teams are heading in totally different directions. I think the win in Buffalo has probably reinvigorated Philadelphia. I think Deshaun Jackson coming back is going to be a huge advantage to Philadelphia, and especially to their run game. People need to put it all together. You got one of the fastest wide receivers. When he was around, they were stretching the field. All stretching the field does is bring both safeties back. Once that free safety is further back, that's more open space for the run game to run through. And it's also going to have a huge impact on Ertz, the tight end, who lives in that open space. Chicago, on the other hand, have no quarterback. I mean, I think that guy, Jermaine, who throws darts, it's almost the same action. I believe if he played for Chicago this week, they might have a chance. But nope, they have Trubisky. This guy is a disaster. Period, end of story. I know you Chicago fans, last year, Ralph, I kept insulting Chicago. I had like this many comments of like, oh, you hate Chicago. I love Chicago. Okay, I love Chicago. I was a Bears fan growing up. I love Butkus and Urlacher and Singletary and Richard Dent. I got an autograph, Gale Sayers piece downstairs. I love Chicago. This quarterback is a nightmare, and however good Nagy was last year, he is that bad this year. Plus, they have no kicking game. Philly -5.
I can't argue that either. You know, I'm not going to get to the window with Philly, I don't think, because they're coming off 3 straight road games, and they have New England on deck and Seattle, and it's a tough spot. But, you know, the team got back to 4-4 now with that win. Well-deserved win, being able to rush for 218 yards. I think the weather helped them. They were a team that can run the ball, and they ran the ball better than Buffalo. You know, I am not sure of the psyche of Chicago. If, you know, Trubisky is a quarterback who, from my hometown, you know, he's from Cleveland, and he played in Mentor, and I watched him in high school. I was still back in Cleveland at that time. And, you know, he ran through and he played for a school that won a championship. And, you know, he goes to North Carolina, only plays 1 year, has a good season. And if they didn't trade up and get Trubisky as the number 1 pick, he wouldn't be the quarterback right now. It would be Chase Daniels. But when you pick a quarterback number 1, you're not going to bench him in the second year. But so what happens? You score 21 against Oakland, but only 236 yards. 25 against New Orleans, only 252 yards. So both of those games are even more misleading than the actual stats. You know, you finally move the ball against the Chargers, but you can't score. Pinheiro misses a 41-yard field goal. Your psyche has to be blown. The defense has to be infuriated. You're only allowing 317 yards per game, and yet you're 3-4 on the season. When you have a disconnect between the defense and the offense the way it is, it really can drive some wedges between you. So, you know, I think it's priced fair. I think Philadelphia is a team that's getting healthier. Hell, they were missing 3 DBs earlier in the year. They got a couple of them back now. And I agree. Zach Ertz, 63 targets, only 37 receptions. That number is going to get so much closer when he's able to go down the middle and get those short passes as the safety net and not be the number 1 go-to receiver. So completely agree with that thought.
Yeah, Ralph, I mean, you want to know how bad Trubisky is? I bet you Chicago fans are pissed off they didn't trade for Andy Dalton. That's how bad Mitch Trubisky is.
Well, you know, I had read couple rumors from, like ESPN guys, that they were trying to get a deal for Mariota and they couldn't get it done before the trade deadline.
And so he can't move the ball 2 meters.
See, Dalton didn't know he was getting benched. Dalton came out today and
he was pissed.
I'm very upset that they didn't tell me I was going to get benched because I wouldn't have mind getting traded. Well, of course you don't mind getting traded from the Bengals. So, do I believe Chicago is looking for a quarterback? Yeah, I do believe that. I don't think those were, just rumors that someone started. And, if you're Trubisky, you also know they were looking for a quarterback. So now you lack more confidence.
Listen, if Tony Romo is healthy, I'd throw the damn kitchen sink at that guy. He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. It's the NFL Presidential Address. You can find it at Wager Talk TV, our YouTube channel. Ralph, we're going to skip the Minnesota-Kansas City game straight off. There's barely a lineup. Nobody knows if Mahomes is playing or not. Let's go straight let's just skip the New York Jets-Miami game. There are lots of lineups, but nobody cares. You just can't bet this game. These two teams might go out there and try lose. I mean, Miami's been trying to lose. I know you say they have life. All I see is a pretend life. Ryan Fitzpatrick is trying to will this damn team into the end zone. Everybody else is like, oh, I caught the ball. Here you go, cornerback. Take it. Run back. We're going for Tua. This game is unbettable.
I am going to say one thing, Prez, just because you brought that up. Yes, Miami is more competitive than Cincinnati and Washington, but the reason I can't bet them here is because now we're talking a 3-point spread, not a 2-touchdown spread where they're trying and they're going to keep a game close. We're saying they basically have to win this game to cover. So I agree. Move on.
Indianapolis going into Pittsburgh, and you again, Ralph. I like looked at this game. I'm like, I lean on Pittsburgh. I'm not going to bet it. I talked to you on the phone about it, and you're like, Indy's the play. And I'm like, yep, Indy's the play. Tell us why.
You look at the Colts, and all they do is win. What if I told you right now the Colts were 14-3 their last 17 regular season games? It would be impressive. Their losses this year, they lost to the Chargers on the road. Why did they lose? They didn't get the ball in the red zone, and they lost to Oakland. Besides that, they went to the road. They beat Tennessee, a good win. Atlanta was still good when they beat them. Beating Houston at home, a good win. Denver, so-so. But Jacoby Brissett, a 14-3 ratio. Marlon Mack is a beast. I mean, I love the way the guy runs. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. James Conner likely out. Benny Snell likely out. Jalen Samuels, who has 18 carries on the year, is going to be their running back, and he's missed the last 3 games. Mason Rudolph hasn't impressed me. Smith-Schuster, you have a cornerback on Indy that can shut him down, and that makes you throw away from Schuster. I don't think they can do that. To me, I give multiple check marks to Indy here. A better running back, better quarterback, better receivers, and a better defense. I mean, what else is to be said?
He's Ralph Michaels. What else is there to be said? I'm with you completely on Indianapolis. I mean, my initial reaction was Pittsburgh, and I was just wrong. Indy all the way on this game. Late games. Detroit going into Oakland. Oakland is -2 here. Over and under is 50.5. And Ralph, I'm going to play the over in this game. Matthew Stafford's playing the best ball of his life. Those receivers, I mean, a lot of people can't tell you the names of the Detroit Lions receivers. These are speedy guys, and they are catching the ball. Their running game is okay. Their offensive line is protecting Stafford. Their defense is good enough. I love Matt Patricia as a coach. It really feels to me like we're watching a Detroit team take the persona of their coach on. I like Detroit in this game, but I don't want to bet Detroit and the over when I really like the over. So my bet on this game is the over. Ralph, you and I both had Houston over the total last week, 51. I had 51. You had 51.5. I pushed. You lost. It's always a huge surprise. We bet every week of our lives, and it's like 51. Yeah, over the total. Then we start watching the game. It's 14-7 in the first quarter. We're like, good to go. Yeah, didn't get there for you, Ralph. 51 is a big, big number. But here's the thing. Oakland needed a field goal to make it 27-27. They had a pass interference call. I think it was they had a drop pass. They had a holding call. It was a mess at the end of that game. But that game should have gone over, and I think this game will. I think we're going to get this game into the 60s. I think it's going to be one of the funnest games to watch. I lean heavily on Detroit, but I really like over the total.
Well, Prez, I don't have, this is one thing I don't have a stat on, but this goes back to my North Coast days, and it was almost an automatic play against for me. When a team loses their center, the first game they play without him, I will absolutely not bet on that team. There is no way. Rodney Hudson went out in the second half against Houston. It certainly affected the Raiders in the second half. Right now, it's a question if he could play. They may use Richie Incognito at center.
Boy.
So so I'm going to tell you to slow your roll on the over in that. Now, I don't want to talk you out of a wager that you feel comfortable with, but to me, we saw the Chargers center go out. We saw Pouncey go out. We saw them struggle the next 2 weeks. The center is so valuable in the NFL, and he doesn't move the line where I think he should move the line several points. So I am a wait and see. I originally thought I would like the Raiders back here. They had been gone for 5 games. They've been gone for 6 weeks. And I really wasn't sold on Detroit. But that's how much I feel. That's how strongly I feel about missing your starting center once you're into the season. I'm not talking about, not knowing who you're going to start in the center, playing one game and another center. I'm talking about once your offense has been established, you're 4 or 5 weeks in, and your center goes out, that first game, again, almost an automatic play against. I will certainly never play on that team. The Raiders are in that boat for me as I wait to see what happens on the injury report.
Tampa Bay going into Seattle, and you and I have discussed this game offline, and I really like Tampa Bay here. Look, I get it, man. I mean, Tampa Bay, this Jekyll and Hyde, is he going to throw interceptions? Is he going to throw touchdowns? Nobody knows. One thing we do know, though, about Seattle is they really like to pack it in as far as keeping the score super tight. This team, even when they ran away with the game last week, they still found a way to make it really, really close. For however great Bill Carroll is, he certainly doesn't like to run up the score, which is a huge surprise given that that's all he did when he was the coach of USC. Give me 6 points in Tampa Bay, and we have a money line segment at the end of the show. I'm just going to do it right now. Tampa Bay on the money line as well, brother.
Yeah, well, we agree. Pete Carroll is his name. You said Bill by mistake, but you're looking at this, and Seattle used to have the strongest home field, the 12th man, and what's happened? Well, they're 4-11-2 as a home favorite. They're 0-3-1 this year. The reason is the Legion of Doom is gone. The defense used to stop opponents. Right now, Pete Carroll gets a lead, and he's happy to slow the pace down. They don't let Russell Wilson pass. They hand the ball off to Chris Carson time after time after time. And what happens? You have a 24-0 lead against Atlanta. You win the game 27-20. You either push or you lose, depending on who the Seattle Seahawks backers have. At home this year, they lost to Baltimore straight up. They beat the Rams by a point. They lost to New Orleans, and they only beat Cincinnati. Yeah, they only beat Cincinnati by a point, and they got outgained by 196 yards. It's tough to say you're going to back Jameis Winston. I thought he'd be much better than he is at this point in time with Bruce Arians as his head coach. They could have won the Tennessee game. The Carolina game was a game that wasn't as close, but they turned the ball over 6 times. They have 9. They don't have 9 turnovers. They're minus 9 turnovers the last 2 games. If they come into this game and don't turn the ball over, I completely agree. They're very capable of winning.
Cleveland going into Denver, Ralph, and I like Cleveland here, and I like under the total as well. I don't believe in anything in regards to this Denver offense. But look, they got Ryan Finley coming in. Who knows? He could be the next coming. I doubt it. But hell, he can't be worse than Flacco, that's for sure. Going to be hard for Lindsey to get a lot of yards, though, on this Cleveland run defense. We spoke at the top of the show. I made a plus 600 bet on Cleveland to win the division, and it starts this week. I think Cleveland's going to go on a run, and I think we're going to get them to win this game and win it pretty handily. -3, I'm going to be very, very surprised if Denver puts up more than 13 points. For however bad we've seen Cleveland play, and the constant shooting themselves in the foot, all the idiotic penalties, all the turnovers, well, those penalties are offensive. These pulling out a gun and shooting yourself in the foot, that's the offense. The turnovers, that's the offense. Their defense has played really well, Ralph, and they're going to hold Denver to under 13 points.
Prez, I don't mean to do it. I'm going to correct you one more time. Ryan Finley is starting for Cincy. Brandon Allen is starting for Denver this week. So Denver still has a first-time starting quarterback. Yeah,
I look like an idiot, and I apologize, but it's late as hell, and I got too much shit going on in my brain.
Oh, you know what? I misspeak all the time. Teddy and I do live TV, and that's why you have another person on the show with you to make those corrections. Because when you're talking and you're thinking thoughts out, and You're 3 segments ahead in your mind what you're going to say, so all good. But, Brandon Allen wasn't even with this team in the preseason. He doesn't know the offense. You have a new head coach. This guy signed September the 1st. He was on waivers from the Rams. Then the Browns, you talk about the defense. Yeah, they gave up 446 against Seattle, and they gave up 450 against San Fran. But let's not forget, back to the Rams game, they were missing 3 DBs. They were missing both starting cornerbacks. Those starting cornerbacks just came back the last game against New England. What happened? They held New England to 318 yards and 19 first downs. Then you talk about the Browns and who they played. Right now, Tennessee, a playoff team. Rams, a playoff team. Baltimore, a playoff team. San Fran, a playoff team. Seattle, a playoff team. New England, a playoff team. They finally take down the biggest step in class you're going to get the entire season. They win. They cover. They get a feel-good win, and they don't take their foot off the gas because they need a 21-point win, and they're going to get it.
Ralph, how good is this Green Bay team? I don't think they're as good as their record. Aaron Rodgers is playing out of his mind. That pass into the back corner, one of the best passes I've ever seen in my life. They're on the road, and they're -3 and a hook against the LA Chargers. 47 is the total here, Ralph. And, the LA Chargers defense is phenomenal. Their offense has just suffered all year, but we've seen this every single year. Phillip Rivers and their offense have sucked for the first 6 games for the last 4 years in a row. Then they figure out a way to put it together and put a run out. I don't know if the run is going to start this week. I like the Chargers. I think this game is going to be a 3-point game. I'm going to take the home team with the hook.
What's different about this Chargers team than the one of the past? This team can't rush for shit. In their last 4 games, they played Denver, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Chicago. So yes, they've played 4 good defenses, but they have not topped 40 yards rushing in any game. The last team to go 4 straight games without reaching 40 yards rushing, Prez, you probably remember this team. It was the 1946 Detroit Lions. So that's how inept this offense is. Melvin Gordon has fumbled a couple times. Eckler is non-dynamic, averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Rodgers can get it done on offense. There's issues with this Chargers team. You fired your OC in Wisenhunt. You're now bringing in the quarterback coach to be the OC. Your center's still out. Your number 2, Eckler, they use more of as a receiver. Your number 2 receiver, Mike Williams, you're completing 66%, but they're all dink and dunk and they're all late. I am not convinced the Chargers are turning it around this year. I like the Packers.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. That is the NFL Presidential Address. Money line, I'm all over Tampa Bay. I like Tennessee as well. Hell, I'll even take Miami because somebody's got to win that stupid game. What do you like, Ralph?
I do like Tennessee. We talked about it. I wouldn't want Philly. I'm not sold on Detroit. I would do the 2 T's. I would do Tampa Bay and Tennessee in my book.
That's the show, guys. Let's a couple of promo summaries really quick. You guys can get $100 off of my month, Prez 225. You can get $20 off of my week, Prez 79, and $300 off of anyone's college basketball season. Promo code CBB300. You can use that at Wager Talk or Sports Memo. Ralph, I cannot thank you enough for doing this show with me. Between you and Kelly, you're in such high demand, it's ridiculous. And although my signature is on your checks, I know you can still say no.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's a different perspective. You're getting some feedback, and I love the Wager Talk fans, and it's great to give them content that hopefully they enjoy, and hear a joke and get something they can learn on. And it's not all about giving someone a winner in every game when you're doing a video, but it's helping a bunch of new people that are starting to bet what to look at when you're handicapping. Our picks may not always be right, but the process of what you have to look for when you're analyzing a box score and how teams do off injuries and how they do in situations. And, we talked about the schedules and the value and the futures you made. So, again, you can't say, oh, this guy sucked. He went 0-2 on his picks. It's, did you learn anything at all from watching us? And hopefully the answer is yes.
That's it, brother. Be well. Take care. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure to comment and check out Puck Time, our hockey show. I'm the Prez, and I'm out.